This video is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. Banknotes are pocket-sized works of art, teeming with colour, creativity, history and innovation. So I asked my subscribers what their favourites are. I took the top answers and compiled a list of the world's very coolest present-day banknotes, as voted for by you. If you enjoy this video, please consider subscribing. Let's start in no particular order with one of my personal favourites, the US $2 bill. Now, US dollars are often regarded as one of the most boring currencies. I disagree. I think they're classics, full of history and culture, with the $2 for instance portraying 3rd President Thomas Jefferson on the front and the Declaration of Independence on the reverse. But what makes this bill so fascinating isn't the design, rather the myths and urban legends surrounding it. These notes are scarcely seen in circulation, to the point that a lot of Americans aren't even sure if they're real or not. There are countless reports of people being arrested for trying to use one, because both the cashiers and police didn't know they exist, and most people tend to hang on to them if they do encounter one. It's a common misconception that these notes are no longer printed. They are. This one here is from 2013, for example, but they only account for 1% of US banknotes. Next we travel north for an entirely more modern banknote, Canada's new vertical $10 bill. This note is polymer, meaning made of plastic, and sees Viola Desmond, a black businesswoman jailed for refusing to leave a whites-only section at a movie theatre. The banknote features some super cool transparent windows and holograms, and there's an urban legend that it smells like maple syrup. I'm not gonna lie, it kind of does, even if some angry Canadians dismiss it as pure nonsense. The rest of the denominations are slowly being switched to vertical designs in the coming years too, with the $5 bill supposedly being announced any day now. Let's stick with the theme of vertical banknotes and travel to Switzerland, which are possibly the single coolest on this list. Switzerland has had vertical designs for decades, and each note bears a different key motif: time, light, wind and matter, as well as different sub-themes such as talent, creativity, wealth of experience and scientific expertise. They feature some incredibly fine details, such as a list of the country's highest peaks in teeny tiny silver writing on the 50. And each denomination sees the globe rotated slightly differently, so when viewed in order, it forms a complete rotation of the Earth. Unfortunately, I can't demonstrate since I don't have the 100 and 1000 franc notes. They have now been released, but all the foreign exchange bureaus are currently closed thanks to this delightful lockdown. Also from Europe, the Norwegian krone features these aggressively modern pixelated designs on their reverse, and I've got to admit I'm really rather fond of them. The 50 krone sees a beacon of light with the lighthouse on the front, whilst the 100 sees an abstract design of a cargo ship. The 200 sees a slightly questionable fishing vessel, and the 500 depicts a more recognisable oil platform. Obviously there's a lot more to these banknotes than just what I've pointed out, but it's this modern element that's seen them take a drastically different approach to any other country, and it certainly paid off. From neighbouring Sweden we see the Swedish krona. What I love so much about these notes is that rather than focusing on historical or political figures like many countries do, these notes portray important people from the creative industries. The 20 krona sees children's book author Astrid Lindgren, with a colour-changing book and children's illustration. The 50 sees composer Evert Taube, besides a boat and musical score, whilst the 100 features actress Greta Garbo and a roll of film. The 200 sees film director Ingmar Bergman and a clapboard. And once again, I couldn't get hold of the two higher denominations, thanks a bunch lockdown. Scotland proved to be by far the highest voted country by my subscribers, and I'm very embarrassed to say I don't have many of their banknotes. The UK as a whole uses pound sterling, and the notes I often talk about are just those issued by the Bank of England. In Scotland, the banknotes are issued by 3 banks: the Bank of Scotland, the Royal Bank of Scotland, and Clydesdale Bank. The notes can be used interchangeably with the English versions, and across the United Kingdom, although seldom seen outside of Scotland. In fact, I'd argue that they're significantly rarer here than the $2 bills are in America, and there are significantly more cases of them being refused as people think they're not real. For me, these notes have proved exceptionally difficult to acquire. These notes I do have been very kindly sent to me by my subscribers, and they are absolutely beautiful. Finally from Europe, we have the Hungarian forint. Now these banknotes were included in my World's Coolest Banknotes video from 4 years ago, as a single coolest under UV light. I mean, look at them, they're incredible. UV ink is a security feature that most banknotes do have, but these are by far the most elaborate. But I'm actually really disappointed to have to include them again. It's been 4 years and no one has released a more impressive design. Well, actually, the Lake District of all places did, with the local currency that saw constellations glow when exposed to UV light, but the currency has now sadly been scrapped. Anyway, let's head over to Asia. Now, all of the banknotes I'm about to mention I've made individual videos on in much more detail, so I'll just give a quick overview of one particular feature from each. From India, we see the vibrantly coloured rupee, exploring the country's history and World Heritage sites on the reverse. The 20 rupee is the most recently released, and sees the Ellora Caves on the back, a giant monastery temple cave complex cut into the rock. From the Philippines, we see some equally colourful notes that explore the nation's natural wonders and wildlife. These notes are wonderful, and really do the country's biodiversity justice, including a tarsier, a palm civet, and even a whale shark. Malaysia's ringgit notes are very colourful yet again, and a really cool insight into the country, self-described as distinctively Malaysian. The images featured on the back range from a rafflesia, the world's largest flower, to the country's first Prime Minister during the Declaration of Independence. There's also some super cool symbols under UV light. And then we become millionaires with the Indonesian rupiah. The banknote I specifically want to talk about is the 75,000 rupiah note, released to mark the 75th anniversary of independence. It celebrates the country's achievements, including infrastructure, transport, and science, and also features a series of children in traditional Indonesian attire. Now, once again, I've already made a comprehensive video about the Australian dollar, so I'll keep things brief. It was Australia that invented polymer banknotes, and even decades later, they're still leading the world in terms of innovation. These banknotes are beautiful, with transparent windows that span the entire note. There's also some super cool microprint text that forms the stems of the plants, and it actually prompted some mockery a year or two back when someone spotted a typo on the $50. In all fairness, it's absolutely minuscule, so small in fact that it's impossible to read with the naked eye. And finally, we'll finish this video off in New Zealand. The New Zealand dollar has been officially voted the world's most beautiful series of notes, and it's not hard to see why. The fronts see a variety of important figures, from Sir Edmund Hillary, the first man to summit Mount Everest, to the Queen. The reverses feature an array of native flora and fauna, which can be again seen in the transparent window, and has a colour-changing Maori-style art on the front. I haven't actually made a full video about these, so expect one soon. Now, before I go entirely, it's time for a word about this video's sponsor, Surfshark VPN. A VPN, or Virtual Private Network, is a privacy protection tool for keeping you safe online. It's incredibly easy to use and encrypts all data sent by the internet to protect you from malware and trackers, as well as blocking ads and preventing phishing. It basically keeps your passwords, private messages, photos, and sensitive data nice and safe. It's also a clever way of accessing content not usually available in your region, such as Netflix. The Netflix library differs around the world, so if you're in the US, you have a drastically different library to, say, Australia, but with Surfshark you can access both, as well as tons more. Surfshark is the only VPN to offer unlimited devices with just a single account, and if you click the link in the description and use code Chris, you'll get 83% off a 2-year plan, plus an extra 3 months free. And if you decide it's not for you, you can cancel within 30 days to get your money back. So these have been the world's coolest banknotes, voted by you. Hopefully the coming years will bring even more innovation and creativity, so consider subscribing to make sure you don't miss a thing.